workshop is that? Or is everyone just going to be freestyling off the top of their head? And, okay. I'd like to start off by saying, I've got a deep love and fear of language. And so I believe we need to respect language, we need to have a great fear of it, the better for us to be able to try to maneuver our way into it with great respect, etc. If you love language to that great extent, then it'll love you back. But how I see people using language these days is really, really quite sad, to be honest. I was telling some students at Salt Lake University that for years I've been contemplating suicide because things were happening to me that were really terrible. But then I went there to give a workshop and people read their pieces and I said, you know what, this is the only time that I really truly do believe I'm going to commit suicide because this writing is, man. But then I went to the big hole in Kimberley, ready to jump into it and do away with myself. But now it's become a tourist attraction, so it set up all these fences I couldn't climb over. Anyway, and there's also this one belief that people have that in order to be great writers, they need to be writing in English, etc., and so forth. And I've got no regard for that. Absolutely not. Because what people do to what is called the English language is criminal sometimes. Yes, it's a colonial language, etc. But if you intend to work within it, then you have to butcher it, butter it, etc., and so forth. But if you can't string one decent sentence in that language, what are you doing with it? Anyway, let me give you an example of one piece that I truly actually love by Sipho Spamla. It's called Statement, the Dodger. I demos this world in a zao. This fellow didn't speak about Limkelele. I'm used to him to see every day on the street. He comes to me one day, the same way, I'll be alright tomorrow, Jack. He says, Dimti borrow if I bob, who's on duty fix up on a Friday, class it meet again on the way. I don't give land to a second thought. Damti piti umtuga tiko. Blessed is he that gives. That if I pop out of my pocket, that give to him. Next thing I walk away. 2-3 weeks go by, the chap disappear. Not a ghost sign of him anywhere. Yeah, what is 5 bob these days? The cost of living. One can't even buy snuff galore amount. One Saturday afternoon, the Saturday relaxed, near friends of mine, go Mrs. January, the next door neighbor, Mrs. May. We were doing was a 4 session Yamato and a public opinion. In walks this fellow. Wakalelega, I tell you. The people there go love and peace and in long and their shoes. Drunk as a sailor, I tell you. If fellow he doesn't see me, whether fair or foul, I didn't know. What is that we own of the joint? One Scotch here, Johnny Walker. I jumped up and said, counting at the booking, Allah passe. Yay. What is Sandy replying, oh, don't be funny. That's it, take 5. A hell of a clap there. Women started to scream. That's it, take 6. A clap that empty point, here 1 finger. Everybody grabbed my hands. I told them straight, that guy, it take advantage of me. It borrow 5 bob from me the other day long ago, and it promise. We return on a Friday soon. Now grass has grown under my feet. I don't like promises, especially from people who drink whiskey. This world is real funny. Okay, can we discuss that piece? Because one fellow who regards himself as the greatest poet South Africa has ever produced, challenged me. I posted it on Facebook, and he went into my inbox to ask if I think this is a good poem or not. So let's discuss that. This is a workshop, most again. Yes. Why does everyone think about it? Please, I'm as shy and okay.
Yeah, it is poetry in a sense because it reflects life and it's descriptive in its words. It mirrors life, so it's powerful. It evokes imagery. It's wonderful because the language structure. He borrows from certain languages, to make it his own, so he can paint a picture more descriptively, and so it can be, vivid. So it's poetry. It reflects time. It's consciousness. Imoy, man, I love it.
That's the point I'm trying to make. That we don't all of us have to try to be little Shakespeares and whatever. I think the best way we can maneuver our way through life, through the world, through the universe, is by writing in the languages we are most at home. Well, some of us, I guess, are willing colonial subjects. Bantu education drummed that into us. That's why I can't write in Sesotho, I can't write in Setswana. I'm supposed to be Botswana, but I speak better Sotho than I do Setswana. And so I'm a little lost soul. So my only hope is to hang on to Queen Elizabeth's petticoats or whatever. I can't help it. Anyway, any other takes on that piece? That's it. Oh. Let's. Oh, okay. If you don't mind us playing a little something, discussion subsequently. This is here done. We are but there we go. When we say you stay there. Wait. What do you think of this one here. Play the sound. It's pointless here because I think if we can't hear what's being said, it's rather pointless. Anyway, I'd like to share with you a piece that was really instrumental in getting me started on this thankless journey. I love the fact that so-called poets are considered miserable people, constantly broke, etc., etc. It's great because that way nobody expects me to buy them drinks and such. Yeah. Go through life living very well. Okay, Mafika Kuala. You see, this would have helped us if we had sound there because it attempts in a way to show how social struggles, trials, travails, tribulations, etc., shape how we get to write. Somebody was saying to me the other day that they don't see any reason why people should be writing about flowers, etc. And my response to that is very simple. My mother has a flower garden and she loves those flowers. Now, if I write about those flowers, I have to insert into that writing the fact that they are facing extinction by acid rain, by the element pollution, by what's happening with the ocean, etc., etc. So it is a form of social engagement, because I regard myself as a poet, as an artist of social conscience, you know. So what does anyone think? I mean, this is not supposed to be a lecture, it's supposed to be a workshop, meaning that you're supposed to engage, you know. If I express something you disagree with, please feel free to say so. Mine is not the voice of God, if you believe in such.
So the first reading that I did not think it was a poem. To me, it sounded more like a passage. And as I was listening to you go through it, and you went through it very beautifully, I thought, oh, it's a jotted down passage in Xhosa. And then I corrected myself midway to say, no, usually jotted down used to involves a lot of Afrikaans words. And there's a lot of English words in this passage more than Afrikaans. But then, now that we are in the sitting, and I'm like, okay, maybe my understanding of poetry is very limited in that I'm used to sonnets and that kind of English structure, formal structure of poems, in that it must rhyme in a certain way, it must have hidden meanings that you have to, like, I don't know, be gifted in some ways to, like, decipher from that, you know, line of poetry. So then I find myself having a wow moment to say, okay, obviously I don't know that much poetry, that my version of poetry is just this limited. It must be a sonnet, or it must be a what, or it must be a what, not the way this poem was structured. If we do agree that it is a poem, is it a poem?
You know, one of the most interesting things for me is the fact that you get as many definitions of poetry as there are poets, but you'll hardly ever find a definition of poetry from one person aligning with that. For me, poetry is a distillation of the universe. When I can shrink my entire existence, my present, projections of my future, etc., and reduce that to the tip of a pen that I put on a page, that's poetry for me. That is poetry. Another person will tell you something. Of course, you got all these sonnets, you got whatever, sestina, and whatnot. And you see, the sad thing is, sometimes if people don't know what they are doing, they claim that they're experimental, which is a nice excuse for, I really don't know what I'm doing. That was like in the past, the 80s, etc., whoever among us could shout the loudest was the greatest poet. That if somebody didn't feel comfortable with something they had written, then they pretend that it was an oral poem. I got so sick of hearing that, oral, because I started thinking, my associations with that was, anyway, I don't know what ages we're in. So, yeah, but here's the thing. The simple way to work with anything, to us, to me and Gabi there, etc., as musicians, is to, I'll tell you what Charlie Parker said when asked how to be a great musician. He said, you should learn everything you can about your instrument. Find out how it works. Go deep into it. Learn every single thing you can. And once you have done that, forget everything you've learned and just play. That's the best way to approach it, you know. I think in order to be able to break with conventions, your sestinas, your whatever, the rhyming couplet, blah, blah, blah style of writing, you have to first know what it does, how it works. Only once you know how it works can you break the rules and do your own thing. It's very odd that, you know, I had some students of mine telling me that they don't read. They don't want to read, but they go as poets. Here's the thing. Miles Davis, for example, played his little trumpeter, right? It's a mass-produced instrument. There are thousands, if not millions, like it. But if I walk past a place and they are playing a piece of music that I've never heard before, but Miles blows on that piece, I can readily recognize that's Miles Davis. That's the issue of voice. So that is something all of us, I think, need to do, to sit within ourselves, but to know as much as we can, find out as much as we can about the literature. Not so that we can copy or follow in the footsteps of those people, but simply to know what work has been done in order to chart our own path. Mm-hmm. That's my first thing. Anyway, if you don't mind, please, just play.
A new language is being born in this place and other places like it. Zulus, Sotus, Tswanas, Shangans, Vendors, and all the other nations of this country are talking the language of Black South Africa. In 1976, Soweto exploded in revolt. The police have killed many hundreds of school children who faced them with stones and placards. Since then, the country has been simmering with strikes, boycotts, and demonstrations. The government has responded sometimes with reforms, but mostly with bullets.
You say I must sing of the roses red with blood, the blood of my brother, and you say I must sing. You say I must sing. You say I must sing of the roses red with blood, the blood of my brother, and you say let me sing.
Soweto is a violent ghetto. It is the heart of the new African culture. The grandchildren of the early gold miners want now to ease the pain. The others must follow.
Behold my child! Behold, and hear men's anxious call awakening the new reality. Behold, the ancestors wish that a day shall dawn in the annals of creation to be known as Africa Day. And before you have counted on your fingers the onrush of the coming years, man's anger will emerge, a volcano will come to life with Africa Day as its background. Behold, my child, behold. Freedom is a distance like a bridge too far, high above the tombs of your ancestors' monuments, clustered on its peak like the paint that bent her neck to deprive her of the rights to navigation. Rivers filled with tears, tears flowing like Mandela's sweat as he crushed the stone to tame Africa's families. Behold, my child, behold.
Is only 100 years old. It stands as a monument to the Western civilization here in the heart of dark Africa. It is a monument to achievement and destruction. It is here that the waters of the two rivers crash together. Is now under pressure from within and from without. The The same laws that divide the city divide the country. They believe that walls will separate us, the city from the village, the rich from the poor, the men from the women. Their political and economic schemes are designed to ease the pressure, but the pressure mounts, born of hunger and humiliation. Will the whites learn to drink the sparkling waters of another river? Or will they simply become the mercenaries of their own civilization? And the children of Soweto, will they hear our cries from the wilderness beyond the city walls? And will they remember that their survival struggle is also our struggle? How will the two rivers flow? This is my question.
The drums of Africa. A scene unusual to the white man's reflective past. The time was now the changing factor, and I came, I black man, from the caves of men. Child of the earth, my son, we sung the song Pambili Makwetini, when this land was darker than now. Through barriers of oppression and deliberate injustices, through dungeons and barren lands, we had a call. Witnesses said they had it too. My brother said he was loud and clear. But needless to say, I heard the call. He said, but where to go in Abamyam? On your marks, get set, ready, go. Run, Africa, run. Run, Africa, run, because distance is the call of freedom's cry. Far away, but it said, but way to our door. Then in Abamyam, on your marks, get set, ready, go. Run, Africa, run. I had a call from Batonga drums, calling me and you, Gamukana, that Africa is a place, children in danger. Run, Africa, run. Oh, stop the fire.
I think I've got a point to make, or rather, questions to ask. Coming out of such a milieu, coming out of such a world, obviously, we're not going to write according to the scriptures and structures and formal elements of your sonnet, for example. Right? But I'm always of this opinion. There's a lot of written stuff whose content I agree with entirely. But just because I agree with the content doesn't mean that I think it's a good poem. In fact, let me put it differently. I don't think there's good poetry and bad poetry. If it's not good, it's not poetry for me. Anyway, let me illustrate something else again. This is the kind of stuff I grew up on. But I don't know, fortunately, oh, by the way, that was Imwapele Madingwani doing poetry there. It was the film's titled, the documentary titled The Two Rivers. Matsimela Manaka had a hand in the making of it. The old man who spoke at the beginning there is Rashaka Rachitanga. I don't know if you know about the Rachitangas, but quite active. So if anybody wants to dig up the whole document, because this is just the end of it. But I'd like to share with you something that the person I regard as my literary father wrote, Mafika Kwala. Getting off the right, it's a bit long. So do you think you have patience to sit through 6 pages? I hope there's some people here who brought their own writings that they can share with us and we can discuss them.
I'd love for us to talk a bit about the film, which is so.
Oh, okay. Kick us off, please.
Oh, no, it was intense to watch. There was a particular scene where the apartheid police soldier was just like incessantly beating this man, and I had to look away. And I think many of us have been online witnessing what's happening in Sudan, what's happening in Congo, what's happening in Palestine, and the insistence that we must witness. And I'm exhausted at witnessing. And also, what does it mean to be tired of witnessing? So I was just feeling that as I was watching the film. And I was also just curious about the kind of style of the poetry. I just talk a little bit about the film and what we thought about it. But it was difficult to watch, especially like born at the tail end of the state of emergency. Those kinds of images are not images that I've grown up experiencing, but it's always documentary. So And I was also watching it, and thinking about what you are thinking as you are seeing that footage.
You know, there's a kind of outlook, an opinion I'm opposed to, that people like spreading around about how writers reflect their society. Writers are like mirrors of society. I don't think so, because I think it takes away from me the utility of my imagination, that I can only ever reflect like some mirror. Mirrors just reflect, whether they're broken or not. All they can do is reflect. They don't have much agency. And I am not that. Yes, I bear witness to my circumstances, etc., etc., but I attempt to engage with it from deep within myself. The better for me to reach out to the next person, to my sister, to my brother, to my neighbor, etc., etc., going out like that, you know, to all the Fanonian wretched of the earth. So see, you wonder what I was thinking watching it, and well, someone not only witnessed that, but we bear the scars. But then again, scars are not medals. I don't think that. Here's something I'd like to say. In class, for example, somebody would be sharing their written work and we engage with it. Find it wanting in this or the other way, and they say, yeah, but it happened. But my take is this: the fact that it happened to you doesn't make it important. Just because it is reality, oh, this truly happened, doesn't mean that your writing of it should in any way impress me at all. You know, I'm about how content is very important to me, but also how form and content can get so married that they become one. That if it's without form, unless it's deliberately formless because it serves a particular purpose within the ideology or just the thoughts of the author, then I can understand. But if it's formless merely because the writer doesn't have the facility to rein it in, to sharpen it, to render it malleable, to be able to handle it, to be able to create with it, render it pliable like
Boy.
Thank you. Anyone have anything else to say about the document?
I'm saying it because I was triggered by my sister when she says it was difficult to watch, you know. And where I come from is that if it is difficult to watch, then it must be difficult to live, because we have been conditioned to see violence only as physical, and we think what is playing out there on the Black Body, Mind and Spirit ended in 1994 with the Jamboree on the 27th of April. But we are blinded to the many forms that violence manifests in terms of our current reality. And we are able to see it because there is an intention for us not to see it. And if you can't watch that, then it means you can't watch your life as it's unfolding currently. Because your life is marked by the same form of violence. It's only that it is intangible. Yeah. So that's my only contribution.
I agree with you, and I think it's insidious. It's even heavier. You know, I mean, we've all heard of intergenerational trauma, etc., etc., and the scars that some of us inherit. And as you say, it's not only that which you can see. I mean, I do. At some point, I believe that all of us in this country needed some kind of therapy because when it destroyed people, to be honest. And we pass that on along to our children, etc., etc. And the violence indeed ferments and it turns inward, which is where it gets even more dangerous. But anyway, let me not. Could you say something?
One comment. Thank you, Bernard. Can you hear me? Yeah, I know. I just have an observation, and just thinking about what you read prior to us watching this, and a comment on the language. Where Sisi was, commenting on what is poetry and the forms of poetry. And for me personally, there was a sense of, I hate to use this word authenticity in the first one, but I think it is that in the sense that it really just, destroyed the very ideas of what traditional poetry was supposed to be. And it also seemed like the writer was not kind of, I don't know, it felt like there was no, what's the word I'm looking for? Like there was no dependency in legibility somehow, like they didn't feel like they needed to be understood. And that language was in and of itself enough to kind of represent the feelings and the, the thoughts and the ideas. Whereas with the second, with the film, the short film, from, the poetry in the beginning, that gestures to this, the very traditional ideas of what poetry is, with that, the Mwapele, yes. And going to also the interview, the guy, he was the reporter rather, and how he was kind of, I think, using that Queen Elizabeth English, trying to represent the seriousness of what was taking place. And this is just just a thought on how we get to a language that is almost visceral and not just relying on, I guess, the tricks of whatever it is that we're trying to engage with. Yeah.
Anyone have anything to add to that?
I'll take you back to something you wrote, actually, because I was thinking about it earlier. I thought about it when you said that poetry is a distillation of the universe, something like that. So one of my favorite lines in Bird Monk Siding is, you say, to distill decades pen rage, drop one line more powerful than, so could you say something about that line? Or the process of distillation, what does that look like?
For me, poetry is saying the most in the very least. By which I mean, if I can carry across something that would take a prose writer 10 pages to cover, if I can do that in 10 lines, that would amount to a distillation of whatever it is that I was trying. Then by that I don't mean that we summarize whatever it is. No. I just mean that the language itself has to be run through a sieve. It has to be distilled. It has to be, we cut off all excess fat, let's put it that way. And maybe I'm trying to do that because I don't have much fat on my body myself. Anyway, you see, the academy, I don't want to use what's called bad language, I just think, because I tried my best to teach or to share at Rhodes, and I realized that the academy is where writers go to die. You know, you carry your raw talent, whatever it is, you might call it. You get in there, and that gets stripped away from you, and you get stuck in stretchers. You know, then you start writing damn sonnets and stingers and whatever. I personally don't care much for those. You know, but to my credit, I know what they are and how they're supposed to work. I choose not to. It's deliberate in my, because some of us have had to use our language not only as a tool, but also as a weapon. You know, use it to build and to destroy, to attempt to have a total overhaul of what we were talking about earlier, in order to build afresh, not whitewash as has been happening. You know, the walls still stand, rotten as they are. They've just been painted over. We're going nowhere with that. We have to pull the damn structure down and then start or attempt to build. I mean, Dumi's favorite quotation about the end of the world, blah blah, the Caesarean thing. Okay, now you see, I would have finished my 6 lines by now if you hadn't complained. Anyway, Mafika Kwala, getting off the ride. I get off the bus ride after long standing, listening to black voices that obviate the traffic noises. A billboard overwhelms me like an ugly plastic monster with fierce eyes. It tells me what canned drink will be good enough to quench my thirst. I mock the plastic arrogance because I know shit. I know I'm being taken for a ride. Past this Patel's shop, the hustling efforts of these youngsters almost urge me into seriously viewing their imitation wristwatches. When I know they are wanting to drain me of the few rands I'm still left with, so their brothers can get to the top drop and me to go on entering shops, throwing my last rands each time. Yeah, I know I'm being taken for a ride. At the cinema house, the big poster poses a big crowd drawer. I slide into the darkness. The still blackness is nothing but inverted blackness cast upon imposed darkness. I throw my eyes on the screen, then the long watch. I walk out worse than when I moved in. Movies can be made to fast sell the mind. An old warning in the family quips like the inflation coin at the tourist bazaar. Again, I know I've been taken for a ride. My boots jar me as I take the corner off Grey Street into Victoria's busy Victoria's market area. Some black mamas kneeling, their hands on the sidewalk, their second-hand clothes before them. They kneel as if in prayer. A white hippie bumps towards them with what shapes into a pair of fawn corduroy jeans. They are fish-bottomed. The aunt tilts the deal. The seller hooks a faint smile with his cagey chin. Looks like both have no choice, so the limb deal is sealed. With unease, the hippie moves off. You'd swear he'd left a bomb to detonate. I radar his moves while yarning my eyes onto the mama. The mama still on that solemn meal that's accompanied by somber looks from close range. Where's that hippish fixer? Into the market lanes for a blow-up, and the black mama to scrounge a sale after a wash of these sweaty pants that can only be bought by some black brother whose boss won't give him enough to afford a pair of decent trousers. And again, I know I'm being taken on for a ride. I know this ride bloody well. I'm from those squatted mothers in the drafty air, those mothers selling handouts, those mothers selling fruits, those mothers selling vegetables, those mothers selling till dusk in the dusty streets of Claremont, Tembisa, Alex, Khalishiwe, Timbaza, Petersburg. Those mothers in dusty and cheerful streets that are found in Stanger, Monday, Nempanye, Hammersdale, Mabupani, Makibisa, Soweto. I'm one of the sons of those black mamas, was brought up in those dust streets. I'm the black mama's son who vomits on the doorstep of his shack home, pissed with concoction, because his world and the world in town are as separate as the mountain ranges and the deep sea. I'm the naked boy running down a muddy road, the rain pouring bleatingly in Verulam's mission station, with the removal trucks brawling for starts leading to some stifling red brick ghetto of 4-roomed houses at Nduzuma. I'm the pipe-stave pulling cat, standing in the passage behind Rove's barber shop, making dreams and dreams, dreaming makes and makes, dreaming, making and making, dreaming with poetry and drama scripts rotting under mats or being eaten by the rats. I'm the staggering cat on Saturday mornings West Street, the cat whose shattered hopes were bottled up in beers, cane, vodka, hopes shattered by a system that once offered liquor to exempted natives only. I'm the bitter son, leaning against the lamppost, not wishing to go to school, where his elder brother spent years, wasted years at school wanting to be white, only to end as messenger boy. I'm the squally who's thrown himself out of a fast-moving train just to avoid blows, kicks, and the whole. I'm one of the surviving children of Sharpeville, whose black mother spelled it out in blood. I'm the Scottian who confronts devil-eyed cops down Devon's Bay Street since he's got no way to go out. I'm the young Tsotsi found murdered in a donga in the unlit streets of Edendale in Tanzania. I'm the puzzle student planning to make head and tail of Aristotle because he hasn't heard of the buried kingdom of Benin or the Zimbabwe Empire. The student who's swatting himself to madness, striving for universal truths made untrue. I'm the black South African exile who has come across a coughing drunk, nursing his tuberculosis on a New York pavement and remembered he's not free. I'm the black newspaper vendor standing on the street corner 2 o'clock in the morning of Sunday, distributing news to those nightlife crazy nice timers who one day come into knock with the real news. I'm the youthful black with hopes of life, standing on file queue for a job at the local chief's kraal. This chief who let himself and his people into some confused Bantustan gap, where there's bare soil, rocks, and cracking cakes of Rondafel mud bricks. I'm the lonely poet who trudges the township's ghetto passages, pursuing the light that can only come through a totality of change. Change in minds, change in social standings, change in means of living, change in dreams and hopes, dreams and hopes that are black, dreams and hopes where games end, dreams where there's an end to man's creation of gas chambers and concentration camps. I'm the Africa Kwela instrumentalist whose notes profess change. They say the black ghost is weak, that it is feeble and cannot go the distance. I say that's their wishful thinking. The black ghost outmaneuvers the wilds of Relay on treacherous seas. The ghost that steamed South Pacific trains to Florida after Tres Castillos was not black. Which ghost spanned the wilds of roads treating black hospitality as scraps of paper? No, I know the black ghost. It has led to many victories in the pitch darkness of dispossession. I can sit back and watch the screen of black thoughts in which black success is focused. I may not have seen Spartacus, Attila, or the Maccabee brothers for that score. I also did not see Shaka, the Kofi Karikari or Mshweshwe Bambata for another score. And down to those black youths with guns in the streets of Watts, Harlem, Oakland, the people of Guinea-Bissau shed their tears for Cabral with the muzzles of their guns. Sharpeville's black ghost haunts all races, urges the black people forward. I live with this ghost. I've come to love this ghost. I live with the black ghost. When I'm dumped in soulless structures, from Windhoek to Pretoria to Pietersburg, from Gugulethu to Makuta to Mwelezan, where I'm denied understanding according to statutes of ethnic rule. My brothers who are caged in prisons, my brothers waiting in the dark street corners, my brothers sent to mental asylums, my brothers forced into exile, my brothers who bullshit me for a rent, my brothers who dream of a Ford Mustang when they've gone to bed on empty stomachs. My brothers who sell their fellow brothers when they've lost the key to survival. My brothers who roll their fathers on Friday night, yes. I'm made to feel motherless, fatherless, shitless. Me with enough shit in my guts to black shit any officiated shit. Me wishing for a gun when I know some pig will wish to collar me for the 3-star knife I bought at the shop down the street. I hate this vibe. When I know Dudu Pukana's horn is blowing winter out of London's black crowd. I hate this ride. When I dance to Miriam Makeba was Jolingom that brings back the proud and angry past of my ancestors, by whom tribe did not be taken for a nation. I hate this ride. When I learn no Latin from fake classics, when 2 times 2 economics shows me it's part of the trick, teaching me how to starve. When Coca-Cola, Pepsi-Cola ads, all the sweet things are giving me wind in the belly, I ask again, what is black? Black is when you get off the ride. Black is point of self-realization. Black is point of new reason. Black is point of no national deception. Black is point of determined stand. Black is point to be or not to be for blacks. Black is point of right on. Black is energetic release from the shackles of kafir, bantu, non-white. Sometimes there's a fall when brother gets off the ride, and the fall hurts. A fall is a hit to every black brother. Then I smell the jungle. I get the natural smell of the untamed jungle. I'm with the mamba. I learn to understand the mamba. I become a kunga kunga man. I'm with the black ghost of the storm jungle. I'm the smell of poto in a ghetto kitchen. The ghetto, a jungle I'm learning to know. I hear the sound of African drums beating to freedom songs, and the sound of the voice club. Kunga kunga unju unju funtu funtu shundu shundu siki siki moto moto om om om. The voice speaks. I'm the voice that moves the black thunder. I'm the wrath of the moment. I strike swift and sure. I shout in the west and come from the east. I fight running battles with enemy gods in the black clouds. I'm the water snake among water snakes and fish amongst fish. I throw missiles that outpace the SAM. I live in stealth and return in black anger. Mafika Kuala, 1977. Now, I like us to attempt to engage you that piece right there. I mean, you survived. You survived. Thank you for all those. What does everyone think about this? Better?
It sounded like, especially towards the end, like it sounded a bit like, you know, the Maskandi parts, that Maskandi poetry. I think when he was talking about Duzuma, you know, that whole, the last part of it sounded very much in that tradition. Like that's.
You know, the concept of triggering really gets to me, you know. I mean, apparently these days, in some poetry sessions, you know, people are supposed to, you know, before you read, you're supposed to, there are some words that might be triggering to people. So if you feel uncomfortable, give us 3 minutes, go out for 3 minutes. Come on. Anyway, I will say I'm triggered by the mention of sonnets and whatnot. Because, you see, in African music, whether it be Famu, Maskandi, etc., to mention that. We can start with Ratsi Setlhaku, who for me remains my greatest inspiration of today. This blind old man in Botswana, he played what they call Sekhaba. It's like this piece of stick there, you know, that's got this cord running there, piece of metal rather, let's say that you go there, and it's got a little girl, a wooden, like they resonate, and plays with the stick. Alright? It sings, and then it's That is poetry, pure and simple. You listen to listen to sing, and then breaks into poetry. We find it in Maskandi, going back that, so the word out of which we draw, we can potentially draw, is really limitless. As people of this soil, it's really, really limited. I find European writing rather sterile and devoid of life, personally. And this is not some sour grapes thing, just because I can't be in Europe, I'm not in Europe now. No, I'm quite happy to be where I am. I just wish where I am was someone turned upside down, stripped, and have all of his flesh taken from it so he can make a greater being out of it, whatever it is. So anyone got anything to say there about that Mafia Kuala, please?
I think it's a narration of Black life. It's relatable. It goes into so many moments that many of us have lived through and still do. But it puts it in a way that is triumphant and not from a victimhood perspective. And even I like your delivery because the pace at which you delivered it, animated that triumph in the piece itself. Because you could have selected a different tone, and it would have sounded like a victim who just speaks about all the problems that exist. But this is somebody looking at this life and saying, I am standing here, having survived all these experiences, but I recognize them. And I love also that he connects the dots between different places to make us realize that our experiences are really curated by our condition. And we must not think just because you are in Tembisa and somebody is from Khalishio that their experience is definitely curated or at least conditioned. So that's what I love about the piece, and I think there's a level of honesty in it also. And many writers these days are not really. I know Oscar was probably looking for a word, sincerity, because what makes me resonate with writing is sincerity. It's not the eloquence or the floweriness of the language, but it's how sincere you are in writing.
Just to take it back on that, with the first one that you read, and when you were saying what's good poetry, what's bad poetry, I think for me personally, I'm often intimidated by poetry because it's like somebody said, it's this complex put together of words. But on a good day, when you read a poem that is sincere, I'll say truth. The first one you read had so much truth in it, maybe because I borrowed somebody money and never got it back, and felt like I could also 5-finger and a 6-finger. It became very graphic and visual, and I resonated with the truth of it. And
what's interesting for me is that, okay, alright, suppose Pamela just read Mafia Kuala and the academic critics at some point attempted to sweep all of that into the dustbin. They wrote it all off as not being poetry. Then along came Michael Chapman, I guess, trying to make his name. And he took Sipamla, Serote, Kuala, and lumped them together and referred to what they were doing as Soweto poetry. Despite their screams and kicks and whatnot, we are not Soweto poetry. In fact, Kuala said actually he foretold the events that grabbed hold of Soweto 76 and then went out like he'd written about such before. So why would it be presented as though he had come out of what we can call the Soweto moment, you know? So luckily, some of us did not align ourselves with those critics. And I'm happy about it. By the way, I don't know if many people know that Abdullah Ibrahim wrote poetry. It'll be okay. He's got that hit and run, right? He has poetry. But I'd like to share something of his that he wrote. And it might help clarify a point I made earlier, that I might agree with the content. Somebody say, we're suffering, we're being killed or whatever. But it's about how they're actually putting that across for me. In this, Abdullah Ibrahim, dollar brand at the time, was writing about the destruction of District 6. But please listen to how he does it. Blues for District 6. Early one New Year's morning, when the Emerald Bay waved its clear waters against the noisy dockyard, a restless southeaster skipped over slumbering Lion's Head, danced up Hanover Street, tenured a body banjo, strung an ancient cello, bridged a host of guitars, tambourine through a dingy alley into a scented, cobwebbed room, and crackled the Sixth Sense district into a blazing swamp fire of satin sound. Early one New Year's morning, when the moaning bay mourned its murky water against the deserted dockyard, a bloodthirsty southeaster roared over hungry Lion's Head and ghosted its way up Hanover Street, empty, forlorn, and cobwebbed with gloom. Essentially, what he's doing there, it's in two parts. The first part attempts to create this beautiful sense living in District 6. So it's a before and after type of situation. When it gets hungry and goes there and gets into this gloomy blah, 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 that's now when the distraction has been done. That appeals to me. Rather than him say, we brought all these, whatever they're called, these are the tracking and the design. Yeah, those. We all know them. I hope my point is being made there. He could have easily said, they came with their guns and they broke everything down or whatever. And, what's this?
No, don't repeat it.
I get back to what I'm saying.
I was actually raising my hand for her, but you spotted me. I want to go back quickly to Mafika Kwala and perhaps the documentary, but center you, because firstly I want to say that, the piece that you read, Egababuma Fika Kwala, was a continuation of what I saw in the documentary, and I found that interesting. But I'm listening to you read the piece, and I'm wondering, and now I'm comparing you to how you read Dollar Brand's piece, where I felt, your tempo was a bit mellow, and on Mafika Kwala it was a bit urgent, and it was closer to your style. So I wanted to understand. I'm one of those people, by the way, who think you speak super fast. But I just wanted to know, when you read people like Mafika Kwala and Dollar Brand, is it the text that dictates how you deliver the piece, or is that something external? Is that Baba Rhymes just being Baba Rhymes? And please, you must always, trigger warning, because some of us are sensitive. I want to propose at the very end, Tarulo has a piece that might help distill what we saw, so that we can at least sleep better at night. At the very end, with your permission, comrade.
I can actually do it now, but anyway, you see, the reading and the writing for me is one that, for example, I wouldn't wake up one day and say, now I'm going to write a poem. Or, hey, I think I'll write a short story. I think the piece dictates what it wants to be. And the text itself tells me how it wants to be delivered. Because there are different registers. The dollar brand is different. So not that one of them was much more socially engaged or what. No. It's not about that. It's just about how the words themselves flow and splash out, etc., etc. From that. I don't know how other people see it. You know, I don't want to speak ill of my elders, but the first time I went to hear Brawani read his poetry, I almost wept. It was so sad. I said, oh God, I've been reading this thing, man, and it's so powerful. Now, it's just wasted my entire youth, man. Really. But anyway, please don't tell him that. He's not in good health at the moment. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway.
Was it too flat, was it? Was it too?
Man, okay.
Now we have to. Now we have to.
You know, and maybe it's a projection of mine or whatever. You know. Like for example, have you seen how much of a disappointment one stands to get after having read a piece of creative writing, be it a novel or whatever, and then it gets adapted, say, for the screen? You read this book, the affectionate, and then you go and watch the movie that came out there, and you walk out wanting to tear the screen down. You get what I'm saying? So some of us fall for some of these things. You read Brahmani. Time has run out. It's hectic piece. I love that piece. And then I listen to him trying to read it. And I feel like crying. Brahmani, let me read it for you. I know it's no piece, but you know. So that's the point I'm trying to make. For me, it depends on how it touches me. Whether it wants to run or crawl or just lie down and die. That's how I come to it. Of course, somebody else has to read it differently.
What do you experience when you recite poetry? Yesterday was my first time experiencing you, and it was so interesting to see, like I see you now, and there's relaxed. But last night, and I was sitting way up, but there was an energy about you as you were delivering, you know. And it started off with you alone, and then the wonderful team members came along, and like I was saying, poetry from nights like, me. But you know, there were moments where when I caught on, you know, it made me sit on the edge of my seat. You know, when I got lost, I was lost, but like you kept me there through your experience. Like when I was off, then at least I was watching you experiencing it. So I wonder what you feel when you relate with words like that. Hard.
You on the spot. We might as well ask to him how he feels when
for him to spontaneously do for him to spontaneously do
Well, I just believe that we need to attempt as much as we possibly can to be one with whatever it is we're doing, what we think we're put in this place for. And of course, I'm not my poetry, right? But I try my best to inhabit it. Like you were saying, it dictates how and where it wants to go. For example, there are certain pieces of mine I would never, ever, ever read out loud. Never. Because they tell me that they were not meant for that. For somebody to be, sitting relaxed in their lounge, whatever. It's a pity, man. I've never really written a love poem. I mean, the first time, let me read this poem. friends of mine were getting all these girlfriends and whatnot, and I was all alone. I didn't know what to do because nobody seemed to like me. Anyway, these guys said, no, you know what? Should buy her some roses. These are people who know these things, you see. Buy roses. Nah, man, my mother grows flowers, and I've taken a smell of the roses, and they smell like my grandmother's snuff. I said, I wanted to be my girlfriend, not my grandmother's stand-in. I believe that one. I said, okay then, I want to write a poem. I tried my best. This is my love poem. As soon as I started reading it to this person, she ran away. But then again, let's flip that about. Every single thing I've ever written has sprung from love. So every single poem I've ever written is a love poem for me. Yes. As to what, again, I was telling you about these people who say they don't read because they get their poetry from their ancestors. There was no need to read, etc., etc. And I'm asking myself, okay, I wonder if ancestors have got watches and such like that, like me and Tumi yesterday, supposed to be on stage at 7:30. So, you connect with the ancestor and say, take possession of me at exactly 7:30 p.m. I'll be standing in front of an audience. Okay, those is sharp. No, I do believe that we need to know what we're working with as best we can in order for us to be able to bend it, to tear it down, to shape it, to mold it, etc. I mean, I have to thank whatever force is out there, but now I've got people like Timo Follows that I can work with. I've worked with some musicians, well, they were white, I have to admit that, because maybe only then would it make sense. But these guys were very proud of the fact that they didn't know how to play their instruments. Angle grinders. Once in Grahamstown, the vein almost went up in flame. And here I'm standing there trying to do my poetry. This guy is doing the angle grinder thing, the other one is playing, and totally out of tune, out of whatever. But they were proud, pretending to be rebels. Anything else you want to say? How are we doing for time?
We're doing okay.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say, I think we need to recognize that delivery is as much an art form as writing is, but a different one. Yeah. So, and if you're able to make that distinction even in poetry, as much as it applies in music, you can be the greatest composer, but it doesn't mean you are a great player. And you can be a songwriter who writes beautifully, but some songs, like you say, may not be suitable for your style of playing, even if you can play, and you would write for other people to play those songs. So delivering poetry is a different art form, and I think many poets need to recognize that. I don't know when, but maybe you will whisper in their ears.
Yeah, what you say is important because, like I said, particularly in the 80s coming this way, when everybody and their grandmother was going as a poet. I mean, we had a writers' organization that had more poets as members, more than your average trade union. And I was asking myself, wow, how come there's so many poets in South Africa, etc.? But you see, it was at the time when the louder you could chant Amandla, the better. So the best poets among us were the ones with voices of thunder, Yeah, that's a point. I remember going to this rally at Stadium to me, Kumupila Nazarek.
FNP.
FNP, any of us there. And the leaders speak. And a brother of mine, I really don't want to mention his name because he's got a black belt in. And I keep forgetting my Okapi. But I always want to remember, hey, there's no Bruce Lee in Soweto. Come with that, yeah, shit. I pull out my Okapi. And see who walks away from it. No. Terrible joke. But anyway, there were these young guys sitting behind me. Yeah, here comes the great one. Listen. The guy walks up to my, you see how powerful this guy is. Poetry. And the guy says, I'm going to resign to 1 point. Yeah. But he's just saying he's going to recite the book. What's wrong with these people? But you see, that is people's conception of poetry. If you can tell me about my struggle, however ill-conceived your little composition might be, as long as it aligns with my life, I'm all for it. I don't agree. I really believe that we need to sharpen whatever it is we work with so much that it becomes one with us, pretty much, the extension of our existence. Only in that way, the sincerity of which you speak, the authenticity of which you speak, only then can it come to be. Otherwise, all is lost. Anyway,
how do you go about doing that personally?
Pardon?
How do you go about doing that personally, sharpening?
Like I'm saying, for example, I can't claim to be able to play any instrument. I can't, again, just because I'm black does not mean that I can beat a drum. People who in Europe, the streets of Europe, almost every street corner there's a black man with a drum. I witnessed it like that, No, but I'm saying it's a pity we don't have apprenticeship, etc., in these places. And like I said, the academy is the worst place for the writer to go. These creative writing courses. I know because I attempted to teach those things. No. And it's not even sour grapes again, They pushed me out precisely because I was going the opposite direction. No. Yeah, people come up. Again, I don't want to mention names, but there are some of these lecturers who get their students and supervisees to write in their own voice, in the lecturer's voice. You get what I'm saying? And I read these theses side by side, 3 different people, all sound or read exactly like I know this lecturer writes. Again, to get back to your point that you're making, just because somebody knows what constitutes this form of writing and that form of writing and can teach it, doesn't mean that they themselves have the ability to create. Might have the theory of it, just like not every soccer coach can actually kick the ball around with dribble or whatever, but they've got the technical know-how, right? So it's very natural for somebody who's starting off on their writing journey to echo other voices, right? But it's a very sad sight to find somebody who's been writing for 90 years, slight exaggeration there, still sounding like some dead old white man somewhere in Worcestershire or whatever it is it's called. it's natural to create based on what's available to you. But at some point, one gets to dig deeper and deeper and deeper into themselves until out comes the voice, such as I spoke of regarding Miles Davis, regarding whoever, all the great musicians that we can mention out there. Their voice is there. And by voice, I don't mean utterances or whatever. No. You read a novel and you can get the voice. For example, to give you an example, Herman Charles Bosman, regardless of all the arguments I've heard people around here against racism and whatever. But the point is, if I pick up a piece that was written by Bosman, but I've never encountered this piece and doesn't have the author's name on it, I can easily recognize that it was written by Bosman because of its voice. Or, we can. My old man in Nigeria. My life in the bush of ghosts. Tutuola, Amos Tutuola. You read Tutuola, even if it's a piece you've never encountered, but you can tell, this must be a Tutuola piece. That's really what I'm trying to talk about. Nobody can actually point out a way for you to sharpen your craft. Really. It is only you who can really do it. Can suggest, sure, but only you can be able to do it for yourself, I think.
Are we going to let the last question? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's good.
Go for it.
Thank you very much. You are very generous with your poetry, and I really, really appreciate that. I wanted to ask you a question. Do you know Dambudzo Marechera? I'm Zimbabwean, and I'm a big fan of Dambudzo Marechera. When you spoke about using words to build and also using words to destroy, Dambudzo did that all his life. And that's perhaps one of the reasons why he was excluded, or rather ostracized from the best places to exist and write poetry and write literature. You sound very much like him. Is that a fair? Comment?
I won't fight you, my brother. I've fought enough people over there. I'm tired. No, look. Do I know them? Even last night, in the first piece we did with Dumi there, you say something like about how I said, stuck between Jimmy Cliff's House of Exile and Dambudzo Marechera's House of Hunger. Flora Weidveld, whom I utterly dislike. I really, truly dislike that person because she built her entire academic career out of having had sex with Dambudzo Marechera a couple of times. And it's just a sad sight. But anyway, she's got this borderlines of madness, in which the focus is on three writers: Soni Labutanzi, Dambudzo Marechera, and me. She clumped us together, each the chapter of the old, clumped us together as mad writers. So I could go on and on about the Dambudzo thing, but I've got great respect for the writing of Brother David, the Black Sunlight, etc. But I have equal respect for Soni Labutanzi in the Congo. And I can only be me if I seem like my brother or whatever. On the letter. As long as I'm not a duplicate, as long as I'm not a photocopy, I'm happy.
Thank you, Lesego. Have we taken care of your one?
Yeah, we have. Just to mention that I was in a play with Flora the Child, we did Abolition Past Opera Women's.
I was in
nice and she was the beach.
She was?
The beach.
Guys, so one conversation. Laura, so you're going to read that piece that Zandi asked for?
Yes, please. Yes. Oh, sorry.
Before I close, you want it before I close?
Yes, before.
Actually,
Before.
I've been peer pressure. Hi, everyone. Yeah, the sister over here has been pushing me because of some works that I do send. So I wasn't going to read the piece. I was going to play the piece. I was going to play the piece because when we watched the triggering documentary, I was just thinking, and also listening to the poem itself, I was just thinking, Uguti, how is someone like me, who was born in the late 90s, who's young, how do they relate to blackness? And, if I'm being so touched, what else? You mentioned about the trauma being hidden or the walls being painted. And now, as much as I did not experience that, I'm now living the reality of painted walls which are just cracking. So the piece that I thought of was from a perspective of a young person in post-apartheid South Africa or post-conquest South Africa. And it has to do with what you spoke about some Africans who are working with the system. So Ubiko would call them the better blacks. So the piece that I thought of was something I termed the genetically engineered native. So this would be like a futuristic, sort of modern way of seeing the better black and how I see it as someone who really did not go through that experience. So I'd just also like to mention that I get accused a lot of being a poet, but I don't identify as a poet because sometimes when I write some things, I'll have intellectuals say, no, this is poetic. But when I go to poetry sessions, when I was young, I used to do a lot of slam sessions. I think someone asked what is a poem. I get the structure, the sonnets, it's so, and there's the English, she is, so I don't know how you will find the piece itself. It's just me speaking the thoughts, and I thought it was a futuristic way of looking or a present way, and it has music before, so I'd like us to involve ourselves. It's music and words, so please close your eyes, relax, and just listen. It's not a poem. And I'm triggered. but the words might be triggering, so the brother's gonna play it for us. So, genetically engineered native with cooler face. It would be nice if the lights were off, but okay.